All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I give all the praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kadash. Double honors and respect to our apostles and elders, the great millstone, who rule well and taught us His truth. I also like to say peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful elect, and the one third. This is your brother Salah. All right, in today's video lesson we gonna be talking about a few topics, but mainly, man, it's mainly about the downfall of Esau, Edom, man, and we see that in real time, man, and hey, man, we almost there, man. Caesar Nero, man, he's getting ready to lose it, man. You see him about to deploy martial law, setting all these national guards, man. He about to go he about to go after the Southern Kingdom, man. He's already going after the Northern Kingdom, but now, man, it's Jacob's trouble, man. That mass chaos, it's like you best believe it's like this mass chaos is about to ensue in the next coming months, man. And and while that's taking place, man, overseas, man, Esau, Edom, man, Caesar Nero, he panicking, man, because now, man, and China, the land of Moab, right? They're dominating in their missile technology, right? They're dominating their AI, they're dominating in their factory production, man. And this has Esau scared, right? This, so the video I'm about to play, man, it basically talks about how because China or Moab is advancing in their AI technology, right? And Moab has already said this before. As you heard from I believe his name was Dr. Victor Gao. That one Mobile, who speaks, who also speaks on the behalf of Xi Jinping. He basically says, they no longer need America, and this video, pretty much, substantiates that, right? Right, like the video will explain, how they no longer need, their top Ivy League, you know, no top Ivy League students of their people going to America, Canada, or the United Kingdom, man. The West, man. Has been that golden cup, but now that golden cup, man, it's starting to fade, man. You know, Esau's technology. I'm so Slovakia, yeah. Moab's technology is outshining Esau's technology, man, in terms of its capabilities. The production or the advancements, the production of the advancements of their weapons, man. Esau, he can't keep up, man, and soon, man, this damn devil, man, he's getting ready to crash out, man, because he knows he has but a short time in rulership, right? So before we play the video, we're gonna open up with a precept. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, verse 7. It says here, concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yal Shai Sabaoth, meaning his armies. Is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Yeah, that's right, man. And wisdom is rapidly vanishing in Edom, man. These people, man, and 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 we'll see where the spirit takes me, but I want to make this quick, because I want to get dinner, but but basically, right, like Esau, Edom, right, because he was, he was on, he was the top of the world, he had the world reserve currency, basically put him ahead and had control over everyone, man. Esau got slack and lazy, right, and and eventually the Lord put the spirit on these Moabites, to surpass Edom in terms of manufacturing and scientific capabilities, right? In terms of their AI and weaponry advancements, right? And thus, Esau is starting to panic, like, because right now, like, although he is getting ready for that, for that martial law, man, that chaos, man, he's still hesitant on pushing that MOTB because the devil don't know if he's ready or not, and ultimately, man, throughout this lesson, that's gonna be his ultimate downfall, because this man's making bold and rash decisions, right, and instead of being methodical, and well thought, man. This is Esau's, his last ditch attempt, to gain control of power, right? That's why he's trying to seize everything, right? Because he wants to hold on to that blessing, man. Before the Lord comes back, and that's nigh, man. That's why we see all these things happening, right? And now before we play the video, we're gonna get the disclaimer, the copyright disclaimer. So disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Yeah, all right. So with that out of the way, we're gonna play the video.
Chinese startup DeepSeek's advances appeared to undermine the U.S. lead in the global artificial intelligence race.
A new China-based artificial intelligence startup is shaking up an industry known for its rapid innovation.
DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world.
Picture this, a billion-dollar race to dominate the future of technology. The world assumes the West will lead, as it always has. But then China quietly rolls out an artificial intelligence so powerful, so advanced, it rivals Silicon Valley's best creations. And here's the kicker, it was built not by foreign-educated elites, not by graduates of Harvard or Stanford, but by young minds trained entirely inside China. This is DeepSeek, an AI platform developed for a fraction of what the West spends, yet capable of competing with ChatGPT, Grok, and every other Western AI model. For Beijing, it's not just a technological triumph, it's a declaration. China does not need your schools, your systems, or your stamp of approval anymore. Welcome back to Race to Space, the channel that decodes the future of global power. Today, we're not talking about missiles, carriers, or fighter jets. We're talking about something far more disruptive, the rise of a homegrown AI revolution that could reshape the very foundation of global influence. For decades, foreign education was the golden ticket. If you were a Chinese student with a degree from an American or British university, doors flew open. Higher salaries, better jobs, elite status. It was the ultimate badge of prestige, but not anymore. Something has changed. From government policies to corporate boardrooms, China is shifting hard, away from foreign degrees and toward its own homegrown talent. Why? Because the world's second largest economy no longer believes that the West holds the monopoly on innovation. In fact, the success of DeepSeek and the backlash against foreign-educated hires proves something bigger. China is building an ecosystem where domestic education, domestic companies, and domestic innovation dominate. And if you think this is just an HR policy shift, think again. This is a strategic pivot that could tilt the balance of technological power permanently. Let's rewind. For years, Chinese families poured billions into overseas education. The US, Canada, the UK, they were the dream destinations. Why? Because Chinese companies believed that even an average Western degree was worth more than a top-tier Chinese diploma. Employers preferred an applicant from a second-tier American school over someone from a 985 or 211 university, the Chinese Ivy League. That era is over, and the turning point, it was not just geopolitics, it was reality. In the last few years, salaries for returnees have collapsed, down by as much as 25% since 2020. That's almost $9,000 wiped out per year, and for families who spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, this is devastating. Surveys reveal another shock.
Hey man, to the spirit, man. That's what that whole that was another thing on that whole I almost said it, but that whole C19 the Ovid jab. That it was a part of that too, man. Because of the policy, what's it called? The policy shifts in China or Moab, right? Aside from that being a trial run, for the MOTV, right? They they also did that because the U.S. knew, man, they were losing money, man. They were losing that intellectual influence that they had over other countries because they saw that Moab was rapidly advancing in in their technological developments, with their with their missile technologies, and eventually, man, their AI, which I believe DeepSeek came out of last year, if I'm not mistaken, and like that was also them losing money from foreign students, right? Right, because of China's policy, right? That was also part of it. Hence also why they also should put the blame on Moab, right? Right, because because Moab was making moves, to become independent, right? From the U.S. in terms of their education and philosophies, right? Esau basically got pissed, right? Right at them at Moab, saying how they're basically saying how dare they want to separate our way of education, our way of philosophy, our way of thinking, man. How dare they separate from our wine, our philosophies, man. And because because Yahweh Shem Yah try to put the spirit on them, to shift away, to separate, right? Right, to advance, right, and that's ultimately, to set Babylon up for that ultimate destruction, right? Because now China's focused on advancing itself, which the Lord will use Moab, and Russia and these other nations, right, and as well as its own allies like NATO and the EU, to ultimately destroy Babylon the Great. So
6 million overseas returnees now face limited or zero opportunities in state-owned enterprises and sensitive industries. Why? Because those foreign degrees are now seen as a liability, not an asset. And then came DeepSeek, a project that changed the narrative overnight. It was the ultimate answer to the question, do we need the West to innovate? The response was a thunderous no. Built by...
Even AI says they don't need Babylon anymore, man. This place is absolutely fucking through.
Graduates of Chinese universities without a single Western diploma on the team. DeepSeek is not just an AI model, it's a symbol, a signal that China trusts its own system to lead the technological revolution. Here's what makes DeepSeek so terrifying to Western tech giants. It did not just match their achievements. It did it at a fraction of the cost. No $10 billion research budgets, no armies of foreign consultants. Just pure domestic expertise, precision, and speed. This matters because in modern warfare and economic competition, AI is the ultimate force multiplier. Think about it. A nation that controls the most advanced AI does not just win tech markets, it dominates military strategy, cyber operations, logistics, surveillance, and even economic forecasting.
Yeah, and that's Esau's sword turning against him, man. Man, his blessing, the sword is becoming a curse, man. And now these other nations, man, they have that same weapon to destroy Esau. Because why? We're seeing his downfall, man. We're seeing the collapse of his kingdom. We're at the end of his bounds that he cannot pass, as the scriptures say.
And by proving it can build world-class AI without foreign input, China sends a chilling message. We no longer need your universities. We no longer need your approval. Meanwhile, Western education systems are collapsing under their own weight, skyrocketing tuition, visa restrictions, political bottlenecks. The U.S. consulates are slamming the doors on international students. At the same time,
and that proves to you, man, that I remember this all the way back in 2013, man, 2014, man. Like I knew that going to these universities, man, and getting out of loan, man, was such a fucking scam, man. Man, like I remember a teacher was telling me, an old ass teacher, right, and this was way back in 2012, 2013, right. An old ass teacher told me he was still paying for fucking loans, man. Man, that's just fucking ridiculous.
Families in China are realizing something powerful. Why spend a fortune abroad when the best opportunities now come from home? DeepSeek is more than a software platform. It's a philosophy of self-reliance, the same philosophy driving China's military, its aerospace, and its AI-driven weapon systems. It's the same mindset that builds stealth bombers without Lockheed Martin, carriers without Newport News, and now AI without Silicon Valley. When Gree Electric's CEO said she preferred hiring graduates of Chinese universities, it was not an offhand remark, it was a policy shift. And she's not alone. Major corporations across China, including those in tech, manufacturing, and defense, are following the same path. Why? Because they see a risk in over-reliance on foreign-educated elites, not just a security risk, but an ideological risk. These companies are asking hard questions. Why hire someone trained in a Western system that no longer understands China's speed, scale, and ambition? Why bring in graduates conditioned to think like Silicon Valley when Beijing is writing its own playbook? Even provincial governments are joining the movement. Guangdong and Shandong, the industrial and economic powerhouses, now ban foreign graduates from applying to government jobs. Yes, you heard that right. Even Ivy League diplomas can't buy you a seat in the local bureaucracy anymore.
Let me pause it real quick. That takes me to one scripture, man. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh singing outside his hand, and hath made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad, right? And you're seeing this right now, man. China's making a shift, away from Western ideology, right? That's why they're not accepting their own people, but in seats of power, right? Because they're influenced by that Babylonian wine, right? They don't want their own government tainted, right? Or people fucking betraying them. To overthrow their government, because Moab is weary and is aware of the poison of Western ideologies and Western philosophies, right? He sees that Western philosophy is in fact destroying Babylon the Great, as you see right now, with all the homelessness, man, feminism, the Moism, man, all sorts of fucking madness happening in Babylon the Great, man, and we're happy to see this place fucking go down, man, because we tired of it. Man, we almost there, Aki and Aqua, man. You'll just keep holding on.
Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, they hold no leverage here. And if the provinces are doing it, what do you think the defense sector is doing? The same. Because when the race for AI-driven warfare heats up, trust and loyalty matter as much as talent. This is not just a hiring trend. This is a re-engineering of the entire innovation pipeline. For decades, the West believed its greatest export was not steel or oil, it was education. Universities like MIT and Stanford weren't just schools, they were soft power weapons, training the world's brightest minds to think like Americans. And for decades, China played along. But now, that influence is evaporating because China does not just want to be an industrial giant, it wants to own the future of AI, quantum computing, autonomous weapons, and space-based systems. And to do that, it does not need American classrooms. It needs Chinese labs, Chinese engineers, and Chinese systems built for Chinese strategies. And here's the strategic killer. If China produces world-class AI talent internally and keeps that talent at home, the US loses more than tuition dollars. It loses the one thing it thought was untouchable: intellectual dominance. Remember what happened with 5G? The West laughed at Huawei until it did not. The same is happening now in AI, and soon in defense tech, biotech, and space. The question is not whether China can catch up. The question is, has it already passed the point of no return for the West? Thanks for watching Race to Space, where we uncover the strategies shaping tomorrow's world. What do you think? Has the West already lost its edge?
Yes, the West has in fact lost its edge, man. Man, that's why they're making all these these rash, bold decisions, man. Well, not bold, but really stupid fucking decisions, man. And which is ultimately destroying their people, man. That's why Esau has companies like BlackRock, well, going around the world buying up these resources, right, and that's why, man, ultimately, Esau is gonna have to go to war with Moab, to try to seize control over everything. While Moab has his own system set up, with the BRICS nation, with the Chinese yuan and their own digital currency, man, is gonna be it's gonna be a battle for for dominance, right? But ultimately, right, Yao Bashi Miao Shai, man, is gonna destroy all of them, right, and set Israel on top, man. Starting with the elect 144,000, and with Yao Bashi Miao Shai at the head of it, man. With King David underneath them, and the rest of the 144,000. So, all right, so now, man, we're gonna open up with the of course, we're gonna read Psalm 60, chapter 8, and it says here, Moab is my washpot, over Edom I will cast out my shoot. Philistia triumphed out because of me, right? Right, and you see, man, the Lord's activated Moab, but by making them advance with all his AI, his weaponry, his infrastructure, his mass production of products, right? For cheap, right? Destroying the global economy, right? That's hence why Trump is enacting those tariffs, so he can try to gain some of that money back, right? He's trying to make that power grab, but at the cost of his own people, man. Which goes to show you, man. These Edomites are unfit to rule, man. Let's get that. Book of Ecclesiastes is the book of Sirach, chapter 10, verse 3, and it says here, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited, right? And let's look at what this word prudence means.
Prudence.
The quality being prudent, cautious, wisdom, judgment, right? And that's spiritual, man. The use of prudence over time, man, and that basically goes to show you, man, that prudence and wisdom, man, is leaving Babylon the Great. As it says in the book of Jeremiah, wisdom is vanishing real fast in Teman, right? And the Lord is getting ready to send these other nations against Babylon the Great, right? So now we're gonna jump to the book of Isaiah, chapter 46, starting at verse 10. It says, declaring the end from the beginning, and from the ancient times, these things are not yet done. Saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure, right? So the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, man, he's gonna have his way at the end of the day, man. The prophecy will pass no matter what, man. Ain't no one's gonna say or do anything, to stop it, right? And I believe one of the brothers, they made a video on this, man. Man, we can do nothing, man. And but surrender ourselves to Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, man. If we be of the elect, Lord willing, right? Right, verse 11, right? Calling a ravenous bird from the east, the man that exalteth my counsel from a far country. Salaki, the man that executeth my counsel from a far country. Yeah, I have spoken it. I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it. I will do it also, man. So let's look at what that word executeth means. Execute my counsel, right? Let's get that.
Strong's H 6098. Esau. Esau.
I saw. Let's see, counsel, advice, purpose, right? So let's see what that feminine noun is. Yas.
Strong's H 3289. Ya'atz. Ya'atz.
Yas. All right. To advise, to give counsel, purpose, devise, plan. Right. So the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, he's putting the thoughts. He's advising these nations, right, on what to do, man. and when he's talking about that ravenous bird from the east, right, he's talking about these other nations, right, Moab, Russia, these Asian countries, man, North Korea, you know, and I guess you could also throw the EU in there because they're gonna turn on Babylon as well, man. They gonna send their ICBM nuclear missiles, man, and destroy and attack Babylon because man, when this MOTB starts rolling out, man, it's gonna fuck up a lot of people, man, and including the elite themselves, man. They're gonna realize that this shit ain't worth it, man, and they're gonna crash out and send them nukes, man, and eventually this place is gonna get destroyed, right, and I'm gonna get some scriptures to substantiate this too, man. Man, that ravenous bird, right? Like the hawk or an eagle, man. We know the eagle represents Esau, Edom, right? Right, but remember, they're also eagles, on the right hand side, man. And I got that inspiration from, from watching the documentary on the Philippine eagle, right? One of the rarest and one of the largest majestic birds in Asia, man. From Philippines, where I was born from, but yeah, man, just like how you have the bald eagle, man, representing Babylon the Great, man, representing, which is Esau's spiritual bird, that's the eagle on the left hand side, man, in the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, man, ultimately he's gonna be that eagle on the right hand side, to ultimately destroy Babylon and destroy Esau and these other nations, man. Man, because what the scripture says, the Lord rideth on a swift cloud. Let's get that. All right, Book of Isaiah, chapter 19, verse 1. It says here, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai rideth upon a swift cloud, and it shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be removed at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Right, because ultimately, right, it's the Lord and Yahshua, Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, and the 144,000 the elect, man, is going to ultimately, put Esau in captivity, like how they put us into captivity, right? That ravenous bird is ultimately going to be Israel. Right, so let's read, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 7. It says here, and the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai will put all these curses upon thine enemies, on them that hate thee, which persecute thee, right? And we're seeing that happening right now, man, as we speak in real time, man. All these systems failing, martial law coming out, people being homeless, people crashing out, people complaining, sighing and crying and moaning, man, about the fall of Babylon the Great, America. Yeah, all right, and here's the main point. Right. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49 says here, the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshai shall bring a nation against thee from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, right? And that represents, these Edomites, right? Because their spiritual animal was the eagle, and they put us into captivity, right? They spoke English, right? Right, and Jake and on the west coast of Africa didn't really understand English. Their Hebrew heritage was beaten out of them. But now, man, the roles are gonna be reversed, man. The Lord, he's gonna first use these other nations like Moab, Gog, Magog, Russia, North Korea, and these other nations that have nuclear capabilities, to ultimately destroy Babylon, right? While the midst of that, while those missiles are flying, right, the Lord's gonna beat him up his elect, man, and destroy these nations, man, chiefly Esau, Edom, right, and then put their asses in the captivity, right, the Lord's gonna be that swift eagle, man, to beat these nations in the fucking powder and put their elites in the fucking captivity where where they fucking belong, man, that's what's gonna happen, right, so if we jump back to Isaiah 46, continue on at verse 12, hearken unto me, ye stout hearted that are far from righteousness, man. And that's talking about Israelites, Jake being stiff necked, right? I bring my righteousness I bring my righteousness, it shall be not far off, and my salvation shall not tarry, and I will place salvation in Zion, for Israel is my glory, right? And ultimately, right, is Yahweh Bashim Al Shai will set Israel on top eventually, man. And we're gonna see the destruction of these other heathen nations, right? All right, now jumping back to Isaiah 46 verse 11, right? If you look at the context of Isaiah 46 verse 11, right? Let's Google that. All right, Isaiah 46 verse 11, declares Yahweh's sovereign power to accomplish his plans through chosen individuals such as Cyrus, and the Persian emperor described as the bird of prey from the east, right? This verse emphasizes that Yahweh has purpose and spoken on and willingly bring it to pass, as assuring his followers that his will cannot be thwarted and ultimately be fulfilled, providing foundation, security, encouragement amidst a chaotic world, right? And in modern times, right? Instead of Cyrus was the Medo Persians, right? And he's using the Persians again, right? Along with Moab, Russia, man, India, and the BRICS nation, right, to ultimately bring down Esau, man. Because what the scripture says, the Lord requires things, things that have come to pass, right? So he's using the exact same playbook to bring down Babylon, but now he's bringing down modern Babylon the Great, aka America, right? And let's get that. All right, book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 15. That which has been that which has been is now, and that which has been already have been, and Yahweh requires that which is past, right? Right, so the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. And what has done before, man. He's gonna do it again, on a much bigger scale, right? Right, and that proves that reincarnation, does exist, right? How it says where history repeats itself. Well, it repeats itself because that's because the Lord requires it, right? It's in His playbook. It's in His plans of prophecy, right? Right, and ultimately, right, prophecy says, Babylon the Great, aka America, is gonna fall, man. These damn devils, these heathens, they're gonna go down, man. And Moab thinks he's gonna be next in rulership, right? But you know what? He's gonna go into captivity like the rest of these heathens, right? Because let's see what the scripture says, man. And thou, Asia, art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself likened unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always decided to commit whoredom with thee, right? They think they're gonna be the next ones in line as well, right? But you know what? The Lord's gonna take all their crowds and put everyone in subjection, man. Because what does Amos chapter 9 verse 12 say? And we're gonna start at verse 11. Amos chapter 9, starting at verse 11. In that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, and all the heathen which are declared by my name, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, that doeth this. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the trader of grapes him that soweth seed, and the mountains that shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt, right? And it's talking about in the mountains and hills, man. It's talking about these governments, man, because eventually Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, man, he's gonna be that ultimate mountain. Israel's gonna be that ultimate mountain that is established, man. The kingdom of heaven will be on earth as it is in heaven, as it says in the Lord's Prayer, man. And now we're gonna end off this lesson with in the book of Revelation, he that leadeth into captivity, right? Revelation let's get this. Revelation chapter 13 and verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints, man. And the saints, man, who are the Israelites, man. We are patiently waiting, to put these fucking devils and these heathens, man, into captivity, where they rightly belong, man. And the 144,000, the elect, man. And then who are the Hebrew Israelites, man? Who are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, right? And you Israelite foreigners scattered amongst the heathens that look like the heathens, but their seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? We're gonna be the ones that are gonna take over, right? Right, man. Jacob's time's coming, So with that, we have to give all praises, honor, and glory unto the Heavenly Father, His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah Kadash. The honors and respect to our apostles and elders, great millstone who will taught us His truth. I also like to say peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, the whole elect in the 1/3. Just want to say law, and with that, I like to say shalom. We got next at 144.